안녕하세요. 좋습니다. 감사합니다. Now, this is super interesting to me because this is day 6, and I don't know like a whole lot about the group yet. But what I know is just what I can observe, right? And this group seems to function more along the lines of like a band, as probably very familiar with here, like in the West. So they, play instruments, and this is very cool. I know that in the JYPE building, there's like a DAY6 room that's in there that the audio engineers have designed for this type of performance. JYP said that it can be used to record even live sessions and things, which is really fascinating. I mean, I only caught a glimpse of it. I think it was like what is that show? I think it was Idol Room, the one with the two guys on it, and they were like visiting the JYPE building, and this was from a while ago. So I think what was going on was that it was relatively like newly opened, I guess, like the actual building, the facility itself. So they were checking it out kind of for the first time, and they didn't show like a whole lot of it. It was very quick, you know what I mean? But they did go inside the room, and there was some shots of like the way this place was set up, and it looks like fascinating. I mean, it's state of the art stuff. Is like if it's JYP, right? But it was just really incredible. It was like, what a sight to see, man. I would love to, like, I would spend all day in that room just going corner to corner just to try and see like what are the specifications, like how did they set this place up. I've been inside like recording studios before, but everybody's is different, right? I've seen like a very small local type of setups and things. So, but it would just be incredible to actually go and see, like in the JYPE building, you know what I mean? Like this setup for basically a band, and so this is going to be interesting. When I was at the Twice concert, there's that sort of JYPE promo that plays, that has a bunch of their featured artists like Twice, ITZY, Stray Kids, like everybody is on this little reel, and so is DAY6. And it was crazy because I'm like, I'm watching, okay, NMIX, Nizuyu, like, the different groups going by, and when DAY6 popped up, like, I mean, it got like a huge reaction from the crowd. And so I was like, okay, all right. I mean, there are certain things you can gather from, the reaction, and, and so I just was like, wow, that's pretty interesting, that this group, because, like basically every JYPE group that you can think of, from third gen at least, was on this, from third and fourth gen, I guess, right? Since third gen, I should say, was on this little promo reel. And so it was just interesting. Of course, like, ITZY got a big reaction, Stray Kids, and then Twice was like the last one in the reel. So that got a massive reaction from the crowd also. But it was, not knowing like even who was going to be on it or whatever, and so when it just popped up, it's just a very organic indicator of like, okay, well, this is something that is good. Like, I can pretty much like tell that already. But anyways, I don't know where to start. I'm looking at the stuff that's posted, and the earliest stuff is from like 7 years ago, so I can tell that this is third gen. I mean, they must have came out about the same time as Twice and the rest of third gen groups. So I just picked something that sounded interesting, right? So this is Sweet Chaos from DAY6. So so now I see. Um, it's kind of reminds me of like that sort of 2000 sound rock stuff that was going on. It's a very like rock and roll sound. Uh, you know, kind of kind of like that band Jet. You know, there was like an interesting sort of sound that was going on at the time. Um, and this is, you know, I in the spirit of that, I guess it kind of has some of that, but it's also very like it's a really awesome uh, song, like the composition wise and everything. Uh, it, it's what I expected, but also interesting in its own like originality and its own like the actual character of it, the actual sound of it. A little bit of what I was expecting, but also a little bit beyond that, I guess you could say. Um, so the song is definitely it's in four, right? And the everything, the drums, the bass. So there's two guitars, one's rhythm, one's lead, but they will go back and forth as with some of the licks and so every now and again, like the rhythm guitarist gets to do some riffy, licky type stuff, and then the lead, they kind of will swap out back and forth. That's what I imagine, um, because it's what they did in this song. The bass player. So I'm what trying to watch, in the music video. Of course, it's all very like it's directed, and so the shots are going to be like certain sequences and everything. But it seemed like there's the three main vocalists are those guitar part, and then the bass player also, right? Um, with the drummer and the keyboardist on the backing vocals. It's that setup in and of itself really allows for like a lot of things, to to go on. I mean, it just when somebody could pick up a vocal, you know what I mean? Because you don't always see that. Like a lot of times with bands coming out of the West, there's like one singer, like there's one guy who's the main vocal, and they will pretty much have that front man space all the whole time. In other words, and you have like backing vocals also, but it's rare that you would see a distribution like that as far as like the vocal work and everything. So that is a sort of a unique aspect. It's been it's been done before, but not in a while, I would say. Like, and you don't really see bands like rock bands and stuff coming out of the West too much these days. I mean, there were a few, but it's not like it used to be. Um, but that whole setup in and of itself allows for a lot of interesting things to go on, and you do see like you hear like these, like I was saying before, between the three of them, it seemed like they were taking turns, and if one guy picks up the vocal, then you might hear some licks coming out of the other guitarist or the bass player, or the bass player picks up the vocal. That's when you'll hear the two guitarists sort of follow the vocal melody that's going on, with with the making it into like a lick, or behind it or under it. uh, so it's very interesting the way that they can create these different pairings of sounds and everything, and from what I understand, these this group will it has like the subunits, I guess, like the odd of odd days, and then the of even days, um, and then the members have a lot of like solo projects as well. It does make sense when it, because one of the things that I imagine for this group, right? If it's a JYP group, and it's a band. See, this is interesting, right? Because the other groups, you're like, okay, they got to be able to dance and they got to be able to sing, right? And like those are going to be the main sort of performance talents. But this is a different take. But I'm fairly certain that like one of the things about this group is that they all have to be pretty capable vocalists. The drummer, the kid, like they might not have to lean into it when it's a group performance or the full band, but I know that even to make the cut to even get into the group, they had to have their chops, for sure. Like I don't really have any doubt about that. But you can see already in the in the guitars, especially like they have a very like that. It's very rock band. It's very like they have a very like the swag, the sort of rock and roll type of swag. You know what I mean? It's like I was saying, I haven't seen it in a while. It's something that kind of has. It's not so prevalent anymore. Like you have to listen to older stuff. You have to listen to the stuff that it came before. But it's interesting to see it. You know what I mean? Like it's in everything. It's in the postures and the way that they sort of carry themselves as they're performing this, and it's just there's just a whole feel of everything. You know what I mean? It's cool. It's cool because they have it. Like they definitely have this band spirit, and this whole vibe is there. Everybody's got great time. Like I really liked the drum part in particular. And percussion is something that I used to not pay as much attention to, in the past. But these days I really do understand like its function within a song, so that's why it's always one of the first things that I will pay attention to, or like the drums and the bass is okay, because then I can understand the sort of rhythmic foundation of everything, and even the basis of the chord progression. But the drum part is like, it's really fun. There's so many change ups, like the fills are really fun, that you know what I mean, that it's got a great sound. It's got a great kit sound, like to hear an actual drum kit sound. You know what I mean? It's really good, man. This is what I'm talking about. Like that DAY6 room is just and their whole setup and everything is it's probably like just really really top quality stuff. Like the gear, the instruments and everything. You know what I mean? But really nice drum work. It's like the bridge. Oh, the bridge in this song was like fantastic. The chorus has that descending chord progression that's going on. The bass sound is really, really just a powerful sound in this mix. And that kind of matches or correlates with a lot of like the JYPE stuff in general, even any JYPE stuff I've heard so far. And it's the Twice albums. It's the like the bass is always like handled with a lot of consideration, with a lot of thought, and I can still hear that in what is the overall mix for this song. But it's got a very fun type of chord progression. When you come back around to that chorus and you hear that sort of descending line that's going on, it's very fun. And there were lots of like just like really well written, well composed parts in there for your different instruments and everything, especially the back and forth between the two guitar parts that are there. It's really good, man. Like, it's really good. Like, I'm every time I kind of like stumble upon something new, like hearing this band sound for the first time, I'm just like, my mind is going like way faster than I can keep up with it to try and articulate stuff. But there's so much that's going on, and I'm just like, oh, this guitar and the drum at the keyboard, you know what I mean? It's fun. It's really fun, actually, because it's been a while since I've been able to listen to like this type of arrangement. But it's very cool. The sort of black and white first, and then it goes into the color portion of the video. So you can already, like, the way it sort of builds up in the beginning with those first few measures. I don't know where those synthy sounds are coming from. They're like, you can hear the different guitar sounds that are going on, and the drum too, sort of building up, and then there's these sort of sweeping synth sounds that might be coming from the keyboard, or it might be added in there later, like a backing track. But then immediately, like, it hits you with that descending line, doom 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 doom, right? And that's a hook. That's like your first hook that you get introduced to in the song. It's totally carried by the bass. Like, it's all bass. And so the chord progression is descending, and the bass line is descending, but the vocal is doing the opposite. The vocal's ascending. Na 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 na. Right? It's going up as the bass is going down, and so it's sort of counterpoint. It's like it's really really it's composition wise, like, this is really interesting. Okay, the keyboardist, he's coming out with the vocal there. See that? So pre-chorus section, right? The vocals becoming the most dynamic aspect now, and it's really carrying the main part, like the main melodic part. Let's see. Yeah, okay. But now I've seen the keyboardist also come in, and basically take over for like a main vocal line there. So again, it just adds more to that whole idea of like the different things that are possible. Even the vocal lines are very like riffy. They're very licky. Like when you, depending on what kind of musician it is, right? This, the band that this group is, a lot of times you can basically have a chord progression. You start to come up with these melodies, these different melodic parts that end up being licks or riffs, but you can almost like intuit that some of these vocal lines start off as being played, because they sound like licks. They sound like guitar licks. Drum fills, such really good drum sound. Oh, right there, the drum, like, first it's on the snare, right? Pop, 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 and then for this, like, what is it, like 2 bars, I think, it starts to go over to, the hat sound, tink 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 tink, and It's really fun because it changes up. I think we're going like that's pretty much bringing an accent all the way to like the eighth notes, right? The snare, of course, is going to do like 2 and 4. It's going to accent the second and fourth beats. That's the same, even if it's rock or pop. But once you have that shift and the snare sound gets replaced, it's a really cool change up, man. It's like it's a fun little, and going along with the concept of like this sweet chaos, right? Like what this song is trying to convey, because the drum sound is quite punchy, is quite upbeat, it's very fast. The drum fills are like, they're really really snappy, and that change up there just in the percussion part alone creates like a whole different space. It's this much more like rounded, sort of hot, like eye of the storm kind of feel to it, and it's brief, like it moves along very quickly, but it because it's this recurring thing, right? It's just this change up that keeps happening every single time that the chorus part comes around. It's very fun. Interesting jumps in the vocal there. And I think it does it too when it comes back around to like the main chorus hook. It's sweet chaos. There's a jump in the vocal. See, my taste, my pattern, everything there are changing, and what happens? Ting, 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 ting. Like it's totally all there, like on all the different levels. It's very cool, man. It's a very cool composition. Oh, did you hear the hold on, I think it's both parts there. Yeah, okay, so the one guitar is playing like like it's probably 16th notes, right? It's very very fast, like alternate picking on the string, and then the second guitar comes in with this, like it's they're doing this, the back and forth play between the guitar parts there. It's very fun. Right there, the vocal and the guitar lines are following the same pattern. That's what I mean. The lickiness of the vocals, right? Because it's they're harmonizing the two parts, and so, but a lot of that is like definitely in these vocal lines. Like you can hear the riffiness of it, like even from the very beginning. Really, like the almost all the instrumentation there becomes the rhythm section, and then the vocal sort of takes over the melody in that chorus part. That's why there's those peaks. Every time the vocal jumps up there, na da 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 da. And it's again, it's so it's just so riffy. It's like it's very intuitive that these guys like to write on their instruments. Like they like to come up with the basic pitch value idea, and then okay, what come up with a lyrical expression, perhaps at the same time or perhaps afterwards. Well, it's very, very interesting, man. Like, this is the kind of thing where I'd love to see the process of like when you sit down to actually write this stuff. What starts first? Do you start with just a chord? Are you just strumming chunking out the chords, and then maybe like okay, play around with a riff. Okay, if I'm at this chord here in the progression, and I'm gonna move it to this one, what can I do? What kind of little line can I come up with there? It would just be fascinating to see what the process is. The drum fills are really good, man. The drum fills are great. Okay, this bridge part. So we definitely changed tempos there. Seems like we're playing halftime, maybe. Lots of like whole note durations. Basically just playing the chords and letting them sustain through, and doing most again the vocal taking over like the actual melody parts of the song. It's a really a nice change up for the bridge section, and then it's the drum sound, that percussion, that brings back the actual tempo, right, with those very fast, it's almost, I think it's triplets, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I think it's triplet groups, somewhere around 16th note, but might even be 30 seconds. See, drummers get to count rhythms like that. Percussion is the rhythm's totally different, right? But the tempo change there. That's the sort of breakdown for the bridge section. Takes through something that is derivative of the ideas are already in the song as far as the chorus section and everything, and then the drummer, his part is what is going to bring you back into the actual main progression of the song. The outro there, that I think it's, I don't know if that was in the beginning, because the bass all of a sudden shifted and was doing the ascending line there. It's really interesting, man. Like a really fascinating in terms of composition. Just the way that this arrangement has been written. It's really entertaining. I can see why there was such a big response, like from the crowd, when it popped up. This is really fun. I instantly get the appeal, the popularity, especially in the West. This is just it sound like I said, this reminds me of stuff from like the 2000s. It's been a while. It's been a while since I've seen something like this. I actually be done. Um, but it's done very well, right? Like very capably. Yeah, it looked like they were all rocking Fenders as far as the instruments. Um, Hold on, where's the shot of? This looks like Fender, in the bass. It could be a different, but it looks like they're rocking Fenders. Um, it looks like Strats. Yeah, definitely. Uh, Marshall amps. Uh, like, see, they have different stacks too. Uh, there's so much, there's just so much stuff, right? But it'd be fun. That's what I'm saying. It would be fun to see like that Day6 room. Um, yeah, but see, I gotta listen to more, because there's so many possibilities. There's just so many possibilities of like different type of songs that you could do, see different type of sounds. Man, like this is it's a very fun song. It's very interesting. It's conceptual all the way through, all the different parts that are written here. Everything like what the guitars are doing, what the bass is doing, what the drums are doing. So it's really fascinating take on this type of song. Just the rock style in general. It's very familiar. It's like I said, it's definitely that rock and roll sound. Um, but it's different. It's different when you have this ability to distribute parts like this. But everybody's got like some incredible time, some amazing time actually. It's a sound that I just haven't heard in a while. Man, like it makes me want to hear more, because I want to know, I want to see what other types of sounds, do they lean into things that are more ballady, more bluesy, more, well, you know what I mean, like is there an example of maybe perhaps like a period, a decade maybe that really informs what the song is and the sound of it, is it sort of a funky sound, or sort of a disco sound, or sort of a hair metal sound, or you know what I mean, because the one thing that I know for sure is that they could do it, like whatever the take is, like, I have no doubt that they are capable of playing it. But it's very impressive. It's the level that I would have anticipated it to be on. And it's like these guys are really, really, like, really, really into their instruments and into the craft. You can tell, like, even the riffiness of the vocal parts, the way these guys write music is it's very much it's very much a matter of playing. So they think of a lot of the sound, like the sounds that they hear in their heads, before they start putting it together, is definitely like rooted in the instrumental sounds. And man, it's been a while. It's been a while, man. It's been a while to see and hear something like this. It's really, really interesting, but it's really awesome. it's really good. I can see why, like I said, this they got such a big reaction and everything. It, I mean, it's it's the best thing I've heard like in a while, as far as this type of sound. It's the first. It's the first I've heard this type of sound in such a long time. Um, but visually, audibly, you can pick up on so much of the rock and roll influence for sure. Like there's no denying it. You know what I mean? Like all of this is everything. It's all very rock and roll. Um, Man, it's a great band. It's a great band setup. It's great to have these different parts. To have the two, guitar parts, the bass, the keyboard, and then, like I said, the possible line distributions. That's what really gives it a whole different, original type of texture. Um, because you mainly, in a lot of the Western type of rock that you would hear, there's one lead vocal whose sound is most directly associated with the band. In other words, you think of a Western rock band, and most of the time you're gonna basically be thinking about whoever the singer is, because they have that frontman role, and their sound is always directly associated with who the band is, right? And then secondary to that, you'll have the guitar be the next most familiar or recognized sound as far as who the band is. And then, drums and in Western rock, that's always been like the drummer and the bass player never really get enough credit for what they do, because it's very important. It's just that they're not out in front, and that's just the way it goes in the West, I guess. You know what I mean? And that informs the whole idea, the whole take, that you gotta have like that. Your lead singer has got to be that one person or whatever. But this is a very interesting take on it, and that additional layer of like what you can do with the vocals and everything. And then they're all very good on the instruments, right? They're all very good players on their different respective instruments and everything. So it adds to the whole concept. It just expands everything very much, and that makes it like super interesting, man. But yeah, I can instantly see the appeal of this. Yeah, for sure. Um, I I mean, I'm just now experiencing this sound for the first time, and so I don't know, but I know I will revisit this again. This group again. I'm gonna have to get into more of this, because it's a very fascinating type of arrangement and everything. Like this is very unique too. It's against the larger, sort of K-pop landscape, because I haven't seen anybody do this yet. I mean, you know, like you see the different groups very much do like the group thing, the idol group thing, and this is a band thing. This is a rock band thing. This is not the same, but it does have the same level of quality, of production quality, the same, like it's very expressive. It's different in that regard, right? Because because they're writing all of this themselves. You know they are. Like, you know that the bass line is his idea. The drum rhythms are the drummer's idea. The keyboard is you know, and they all probably come up with different ideas that end up being songs. And, you know, the idea, the basis of the song, the chord progression, and all that. But what's fun is that the bass player comes up with okay, here's the, you know, this bass line, and then the keyboard is okay. So I'm gonna, you know, follow the chords, or play that part over here, and then the guitarist are like, okay, I got a riff for that. And if you're gonna play that descending line for a chord progression right there, so I know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move up, you know, and play this up here in this position, and then, you know, the lead guitar comes in and says, okay, well, you guys are doing that. Okay, I can hear a certain line, a certain lick, or whatever, you know. Okay, and then and everything together, you know what I mean, just becomes this. That's what's so great about bands and rock music and everything, is just how expressive it is. That's all it is. I mean, you know, it's that style. It's all just the expression of these different ideas. It's just very, very like well executed as far as the conceptual side of things, because it's throughout all the parts. Like it permeates the entire composition and song structure and everything, and then everything over that is very just styles. It's in, you know, like I point out the difference. Like you have like this Marshall stack here, and then what is that, a Mesa, I think, on the next to it, because these guys have very different guitar sounds that they are going for, you know what I mean. And so that's why, you know, you have differences in that, right? Otherwise it would all just be the same brand or whatever, but that's not what you see. So the thoughtfulness, you know, like there's very specific tonal qualities to how their instruments sound, that is another extension of like what's being expressed. That's the fun of bands. That's the fun of the type of music that you actually get out of like bands, is that they've have gone to all these different extents to try and find that, to try and carve that out. And it's a really, really fantastic example of putting all of these different elements together and creating the band sound, the songs, you know what I mean, like the way this actually comes off. It's super interesting, man. It's super interesting. And yeah, I'm gonna have to check out plenty more from DAY6. The Sweet Chaos, it definitely has that like 2000s rock sound, and it's extremely very like, this is excellent songwriting and composition, and actual musicianship, the instrumental, the level of performance, right, on the instrumental side matches. It's a wonderfully done, a rock and roll expression. Like they're really, really just an awesome band. So yeah, for sure, I'm gonna be getting into DAY6. Yeah, I need to hear more of this. Like this is one of those things where it's like, okay, I need to hear more of this band right here. They're just like, there's no choice now. I gotta hear more of this.